And then Musa ﷺ said to him, I was the prophet of Bani Israel, and Bani Israel could not even do 3. Yeah, Muhammad, go back to your Lord and ask for less. So he went back, Rasulullah, and he was given 45. Then he came down. Musa ﷺ said, I know Bani Israel, they couldn't do 3. Go back and ask for less. And the Prophet ﷺ came back down. But I think also, what Palestine represents more than anything else is this deficiency in the moral consciousness of the world, in that a people can be driven out of their homes, turfed from their land, slaughtered in cold blood, for no other reason than a random group of people turned up from Europe after being persecuted and said that I want to live in this house. In the words of Yaqub from Brooklyn, if I don't steal it, somebody else will. The point being is that it's a glaring deficiency in the global consciousness. Because although people recognize that the Palestinians have been unjustly treated in being turfed from their homes and their lands and slaughtered after they welcomed the Jews who had been persecuted from Europe, after they embraced them and said that just as we embraced you when you were kicked out of Spain, just as we embraced you when you were kicked out of Poland, just as we embraced you when anti-Semitic white supremacist Europe was so racist and so brutal that they declared the Balfour Declaration because they wanted to kick you out, because they saw you as aliens. We are Muslims, they are not our teachers. We have a tolerance from Islam, not from them. We welcome you. And instead of saying, thank you for welcoming us and let's live side by side as we always have, they decided to pick up a gun and go and shoot them instead. I think the reason it's a glaring deficiency in the moral consciousness is that although the world recognizes that the Palestinians have been wronged unjustly, though instead of the world saying, let's come together to give redress and justice to the Palestinians, instead the international community has come together and said, let's talk about a two-state solution. The point being, instead of the world saying, let's give these Palestinians their homes back, they came together and instead of saying, let's give them their homes back and let's get justice, they said, how can we legalize the illegality? Let's talk about how much theft of land we can legalize under the two-state solution. Let's not make the negotiations about justice. Let's make it and say that because we like these guys better than you, we want to acknowledge and recognize their theft of the land, and we want to legalize it. Please tell us how much theft you're willing to swallow, how much theft you're willing to tolerate, and we'll call this the peaceful two-state solution. The point being is that as long as Palestine is chained, the moral consciousness of the world, Muslim and non-Muslim, is tainted and undermined by the fact that we're trying to legalize an oppression and immorality. And for the Muslim who says that Al-Aqsa is special to the Muslims because of the masjid itself, I also remind them that the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ said that the blood of a Muslim is dearer than a brick on the Kaaba. That the blood of a Muslim, that the Prophet ﷺ in Khutbat al-Wada'a, in his last speech that he gave to the Muslims, he said, إِنَّ دِمَاءُكُمْ وَأَعْرَاضُكُمْ وَأَمْوَالُكُمْ حَرَامٌ عَلَيْكُمْ كَحُرْمَةِ يَوْمِكُمْ هَذَا فِي بَلَدِكُمْ هَذَا فِي شَهْرِكُمْ هَذَا. The point being is that the Prophet ﷺ said that your blood, your wealth, and your honor are sacred between you. The same sacredness, the same sanctity as this holy land that you're on, in this holy month that you are in this holy place that we're in. The point being is the Prophet ﷺ, even when you read in the Quran about why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala was so angry with Quraysh, he always talks about those keep driven out of their homes, those driven, even when he tells the Sahaba about what they should do to get their justice, he says, drive them out from where they drove you out, but don't transgress beyond that. The point is Allah insisting on the justice. And the reason why I mention this point is to wrap up on this particular point, which is that Muslims understand, and the non-Muslims need to understand, that what the Muslim is looking for is not revenge. The Muslim is not driven by revenge. The Muslim is taught that the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ entered Mecca, and instead of taking revenge, he forgave Hind, who had cut open the body of his uncle Hamza and mutilated it and ate his organ, ate his liver. He forgave Wahshi, who threw the spear that killed his uncle Hamza. He forgave the leaders of Quraysh, who had boycotted him and kicked him out of his land and warred with him for 23 years. He forgave all of them because the Prophet ﷺ was not sent as a curse to mankind, but as a mercy to guide them out of darkness into light. And that's why when it comes to Palestine and what it means, the reason why I mentioned justice and moral consciousness and not revenge is because when Umar ibn Khattab entered Jerusalem,